After about 3 years, 2 or 3 years, there is finality to that gruesome murder of a teenager in Kasoa by his fellow teenagers. And we have seen that.
I want to say a teenager because the boy in question, the deceased, was 10 at the time.
He was 10.
So he was preteen.
That was a preteen.
Yes.
So the victim was a preteen.
Yes.
At a point, we heard the prosecution say that he was buried alive by these guys. He eventually passed. We are told that one of them, who was 18, has been, as it were, jailed. He's been sentenced to life.
Yes, sentenced to life.
What are the details we are learning, Nathan?
Well, we do know, and like you rightly said, the case happened in 2021, and we have been going in and out of court. The state had been trying to find a resolution to this matter. And after 3 years or so, yesterday, the court pronounced that one of the two teenagers involved in the gruesome murder, Nicholas Kinney, had been sentenced to life imprisonment by a high court in Accra. And he was convicted. Okay, so yes, the Nicholas Kinney and this other suspect, whose name has been withheld because he's a minor at the time, they lured the victim into an uncompleted building and killed him with the intent to use his body parts for rituals. But of course, they were not successful, and they were caught. So if you go to the story, the two teenagers, they were charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder and the substantive charge of murder. Now, the court during the prosecution's case heard that the young boy was still alive when the convicts buried him in a shallow grave. Really disturbing. And the minor involved in the case had confessed to the crime both at the district court during the committal and the high court where they stood trial. Now, he subsequently pleaded not guilty to murder, but pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder. The court entered a plea of not guilty for him. And Nicholas Kinney, the 18-year-old, he denied the offense both at the district court and pleaded not guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and the substantive charge of murder at the high court. In his defense before the court, when his lawyer asked him to tell the court what he knew, he said he did not know anything about the death of this 10-year-old by name Ishmael Mensah.
So those are the details that have come out.
So a few more, just a few more details. The investigator told the court that one of the accused had confessed that he hit the deceased with a cement block, which later broke into pieces after landing on the forehead of the deceased. And a pathologist at the police hospital, ACP Osei Owusu-Friye, gave the cause of death as severe head injury from blunt trauma and asphyxiation, which is being choked, if you like, or being breathless, because he was buried alive. So those were the case. The judge took time to summarize the case for the jury, as well as directed them on what the law said and the threshold the prosecutor or the prosecution must meet. And then after that, Justice Mafo decided to give her judgment.
And in the judgment of Justice Mafo, she made some very profound statements that makes for pondering. That parents of the present generation are asleep, while children who should be asleep by them are widely awake. The consequence is a silent pandemic eroding our society and condemning our future generation to a life of trauma. She also quoted a former First Lady of the United States, Hillary Clinton, that when parents neglect their children, society pays the price. Nothing but parental neglect has brought us this far. If we don't take care, the very foundation of this nation will be destroyed. We do not have the benefit of the full judgment of Justice Mafo, but these are very profound statements.
They are.
Have you seen the full one here?
No. If you go to citynewsroom.com, I believe that some of the facts there kind of speak to some of these things. For example, it says, according to investigators, the first accused admitted during interrogation that the plan to kill the victim stemmed from watching a video of a spiritualist who promised wealth in exchange for 5,000 cedis and human blood. Okay, and so they said the first accused revealed that he contacted the second accused, Nicholas Kinney, the 18-year-old, who suggested that they should consult the fetish priest. The priest allegedly demanded 5,000 cedis and human blood. So as part of the plot, they first intended to kidnap the boy, then demand ransom from his parents.
Right.
So they lured the victim. Once they struck his head with a stick, later with cement blocks after pleading for mercy. The boy was buried alive, with the pathologist testifying that the cause of death was suffocation, or the technical term, asphyxiation.
I see.
So, and I mentioned this first part when in relation to what the judge said about parental responsibility. I'm asking myself, the first accused, who's 15, per the facts on citynewsroom.com, how is it that he's watching a priest or whatever on television?
Yeah.
Why is nobody supervising what he's watching? Because at 15, you are still a child.
Yeah.
Technically, even though you are a teenager,
You're a child.
you are still under parental supervision.
Yeah.
Why was he watching that? Why was there no adult around to ensure that what he consumes is filtered, is regulated? Because we have to admit, a lot of young people, especially children, pick up things they watch, either from the cartoons they are watching or whatever it is they are seeing. They pick up things. Children pick up a lot of things from what they see.
Yeah.
These days you have young children speaking a certain way because of the cartoons they are watching, right? They're very exposed to a lot of things. So I side with the judge completely that parents will have to do a better job of keeping their children in check. If not, these are the things that potentially could happen, because when you have children who are not unchecked and supervised, once they start to go out of control, it creates a problem for all of us, because this teenager has created a big problem for his parents. They will have to deal with this for the rest of their lives. They are scarred with it. You are scarred with it, because if you are going in, I'm talking about the 15-year-old, if you are going in for life, that's your entire life gone. Even if you are pardoned at a point and you come back, how are you going to reintegrate? So we must have a serious conversation about doing things or regulating what children get to watch, especially on television. And to build on top of that, that is where regulation, especially from the part of the state, needs to be very strong. There's a notice in the Daily Graphic today about a number of television stations who have been called by the NCA to come for a meeting. It's somewhere, I think, in the first few pages. And as we're doing the newspaper review, it struck me that a number of TV stations, Richard, you found it. Which entity is calling them for the meeting? I think it's the NCA.
It's public announcement, meeting with media houses cited in media monitoring for offensive content.
Brilliant.
Now, owners of the following media houses are invited to a discussion with the National Media Commission on the regulatory implications of their broadcast
NMC.
content.
How many? There are how many of them there?
So 44.
44.
So maybe later it will
50.
be useful to
Mention them.
44 for content that the NMC deems to be bad or wrong or not conducive, inappropriate.
Yeah.
So when we talk a lot about, and again, I'm not shielding parents. Parents will have to do their part, but the state will have to do its part in terms of filtering what goes onto the screen. Because from the facts of the story, this one boy and this 18-year-old saw something on television. They were drawn to it. They took further steps to even contact this person in question, who demanded 5,000 cedis from a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, and human blood. That's serious. That's gruesome. So the state will have to do a better job of monitoring the things that appear on television, especially when a lot of these televisions are not paid for platforms. So there's no restriction. You know, when you have to pay for a service, the money is a restriction. But it is not, because it's free to air, digital, blah, blah, blah. Scan your TV and boom, they are there. So many television platforms putting God knows what on television. I've seen some of them, and some of the content I cannot believe. And you have children getting access to them because their parents are somewhere working, earning their daily bread, blah, blah, blah. And you could have all these dangerous things happening in society. So I hope that this case will not only, yes, it will give closure to the family, but you see, it leads us down the journey of regulating content on one hand, but also getting parents to be a bit more interested in the lives of their children, or the children who have been placed in their care. Because how on earth is a 15-year-old getting to see some of these things on television to the point where it festers in his mind and he proceeds to commit such a ghastly crime? How?
Unbelievable. You know, the fact that the NMC, yes, Sky, you have the list of the stations that the NMC wants to have a meeting with, right?
Yeah, and the meeting will be held on Thursday, October 31, 2024 at 10 a.m. At the International Press Center. And the first one is Adrimpa TV.
Okay.
Followed by UTV.
I see.
Asomafo TV. Asomafo TV. Yeah. Elephant TV. XTV. Benedict TV. ABTV. Express TV. Enidasopa TV.
Okay, Enidasopa.
Yeah. Akasanoma TV. Diamond TV. TV Magic. VIP TV. Breeze TV. Starboy TV.
What?
Big TV.
Starboy TV.
Yeah. Today's TV. Passion TV, Funny TV, Best TV, Simple TV, Energy TV, Lucky TV, Nkambom TV, Seekers TV, Fly TV, Mijefo TV, Mijefo, okay, Hymns TV, Run TV, ATV, Movement TV, 7 TV, Nsroma TV, Nsroma TV, okay, Unique TV, Akomapa TV, Home TV, Kuma Plus TV, Eagle TV, Advice TV, Golden TV, Garden TV, Goodness TV, Oyerapa TV and Radio, and Asomdwe TV.
Wow.
Please kindly note the date, time, and venue. Thank you.
So these are attending a meeting. They are supposed to attend the meeting for showing unregulated stuff on their platforms.
Yeah, it says meeting with media houses cited in media monitoring for offensive content. Now, offensive means that it's wide, and it must capture quite a lot of things. You know, we have repeatedly complained about some TV channels using or airing adult content in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. When I also honestly don't know what goes through the psyche of a TV station owner or manager to allow that level of rot to fester, either by first of all corrupting himself and then watching his staff go ahead to do those kinds of things. Because, I mean, if you are a father, right, and you are in your home, would you honestly say that it is okay to open such a TV channel and be watching such content with your kids watching with you? I think it is the highest level of irresponsibility.
Yes.
That would drive a person owning a radio or television station to allow such things to be aired. I mean, it is not all about money. We appreciate that there are difficulties in the market. Newspapers are struggling to survive. Television stations are struggling to survive. Radio stations are struggling to survive. We do know that there is intense competition for the limited resources that are out there. And then we also do know that there are many fake guys in the system who are willing and ready to fork out whatever amount they have or they can command to actually pay for airtime and show all kinds of things. There are many quacks in the system who come to you, and because of the difficulty in getting adverse, revenue or all these sources of making money, people are turning their backs on the principles that should guide the use of mass media organizations. So that instead of thinking through, how can I go into partnership with some, institution and make some money off donors to be able to complement what I do? How can I go into partnership with commercial institutions interested in promoting responsible journalism so that I can get some money from there and then complement what I do? How can I go into outdoor events in a responsible way, ensure that I'm serving the public need, while at the same time ensuring viability of my station? But many of the media owners or the people running them are not in the business of big thinking. They don't want to do rigorous thinking. What is available there, no matter how bad it is, they want to bring it into the studio and just play it raw. They want to invite people without any rigorous background check. They bring them to the studio. Once the person says that, oh, I can pay for this or comfort, that is not to say that, look, we understand that we are in is it called religious plurality?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, that is there. But I mean, which responsible media owner should sit at home and watch somebody say that I'm doubling money, and you have cameras on the person and you are selling that to your audiences? I mean, that's the highest level of irresponsibility you can expect. So things that hitherto were confined to small spaces and sometimes word of mouth will get other people to go to those spaces and patronize them. These things are now on the mass media so that it is easily available. You are driving to the house, you flip through the channels, and the kinds of things that you hear, and many of the offensive ones, are in the local languages. Why is that so? That, look, the bandwidth, it's a critical resource. If you use it properly, you can turn around the fortunes of a whole generation and future generations. If they are properly educated,
Yes,
they know what their role is to society, their responsibilities. You are teaching them the right things on radio, on television. Yet, it is as if we have opened... Look, I mean, I'm sure if the likes of Tarzan, they sit back at home, they listen to radio, they watch television, and they reflect, they will be so sad within their souls that this was what they fought for. Because when they were fighting a military dictatorship, to be able to force a situation where we'll have media plurality so that would advance the cause of free speech, development, and all the things that come with it. Commercial viability of businesses within the system. Their dream was really, really big.
Sky, let me avert your mind to what Justice Lady Osei Mafo said in her ruling, that parents of the present generation are asleep, while their children, who should be asleep by them, are widely awake. The consequence is a silent pandemic eroding our society and condemning our future generation to a life of trauma. She also said, nothing, this is quoting Hillary Clinton, nothing but parental neglect has brought us this far. Basically saying that when parents neglect their children, society pays the price. You see that today, parents are busy looking. I get that.
I want to push back a little bit.
Okay.
You see, with great respect to the respected judge, this is not a today's problem.
That's true.
There's always an adage in our local language. So you have the ever say that or which they can say wadda baunai guabonting.
Right.
You understand? And then, of course, if you go back to the ever language, they will say that oba agama kuda fuji yo agama.
Which means what?
Okay, which is to say that let's say for instance the agama what is it, the lizard, the one that changes color,
the chameleon.
yes, right. Is dead on a drum. Now, when they mention the drum, of course, they would mention the agama too, right? Which is to say that there are times that you assume that, as for this one, is not my problem, right? But once there is problem, they will mention you, and they will mention your son, they will mention you, they will mention your child.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is that it is not that it is now, it's not today's development. It's just that maybe access to all kinds of things has actually made the thing grow exponentially.
I must also
And
say
then
that
also competition. You want to survive in society. You know, previously, largely our women were at home, the men were out there farming, and then we'll bring stuff home so that the women play the key role.
Yes.
These days, because of the economic difficulties, the men are out there sometimes, the women are also out there in the market buying. So basically nobody is watching the kids. And then also Martin Pebu, who was representing one of either the two of them or one of them, said something really, really instrumental yesterday, that many of the kids involved in these dastardly crimes you see around are from broken homes. So the man is somewhere, the woman is somewhere, divorced because of divorce, and that plays a part in impacting how the children grow up. Of course, you would always have a situation where the man is somewhere trying to develop himself further, or he's outside the country, attending to responsibilities to earn money and bring it back home. But broken homes is not the same as somebody elsewhere making sure that you're trying to do his best for the family. The point I'm making is that it is not that it is just happening. It's not just happening.
it is systemic.
It's always been there. Maybe it is now more pronounced. You understand? And to get back to the matter of television or radio and how it's impacting,
and even social media.
Yeah, that's right.
Sky.
The truth is that you go into many homes, right? They have a television in the house, but it is a single room. Now, if you don't filter the content at the national level as to ensure that you have the right things on television,
Yes, that's
if the kids live in the same house with their dad, the same single room, like this place, they don't have their washroom in there. They have the washroom elsewhere, but there is a television, and then they have some small bed that they sleep on. The kids sleep on the floor. Whatever the mother is watching or the father is watching, the kids are likely to feed on that. So if you don't have a way of filtering what gets on national media, then given the social problems that we have, the housing problems that we have, and the incapacity on the part of parents to say, no, as for this one, you can't watch it, go out and play, right? Or even if you are showing it in the night, kids sometimes will cover their head and pretend that they are sleeping. They are watching that which you are watching.
But
So
Sky, the other point is that if and that's for those who may not have enough resources to have multiple televisions in their home and all. But now a lot of the kids who also then have access to their own tablets, very young, will not do anything else. All they want to do is to be on their gadgets, and their parents will allow it because they also have to attend to other things. So I get that point, and the balance is what I'm trying to bring. That I mean, a lot of parents are leaving a lot of things to chance for the convenience that when the kids have those tablets, they stop crying and they're able to focus on other things. So whatever the kids are asking for, they are also providing so that they can have their peace of mind to do other things. So the parenting question in today's world has become a very difficult one, and I think that a greater part of the responsibility, much as the state has a role to play in regulating, the school has a role, the church has a role, parents, I mean, charity, I was told, begins at home. Everything, the foundation of everything that we know and are, is a reflection of who we are and where we are from. That's why if you go out there and you misbehave, people ask you, who are you? What's your name? Which family are you from? And why are you doing this? Do you understand? So your parents, first of all, even your own siblings will not allow you to engage in certain things. But now it appears that we are losing it. And I'm happy to take voices from our listeners on this particular one because, well, it's very dicey.
I think this speaks to, and like we've tried to decouple the various themes, it speaks to a number of things. Regulation, parental and state, and effectively, that, for me, that's the biggest takeaway: regulation. What gets onto the screen? So at the level of the state, how is it filtering out what's not palatable for children of a certain age or people of certain ages?
How about communal correction?
Very, very
yes, of course. Then that
and
was,
we are gradually losing that.
socialization.
There was no way I would go and misbehave in town and expect that by the time I get home, somebody will not come and tell my dad or my mom.
They'll
that,
even
Charlie,
equip you before.
oh, yeah,
informing
that's
your
right. They will deal
parents.
with you before, by the time you get home, then the house will also deal with you. The question is, do we have that these days? No, because we have come to a point where we say modernity. And that is my child. So you have no business, getting involved. Not even the state should even get involved in how I discipline, my boy or my girl. So that people go out, they misbehave, and then society doesn't do anything. Oh, as for this one, on me bow. So just a couple of days ago, I went to buy something somewhere close in the Kanda area. Then as I was buying the thing, then there was this young boy who was just misbehaving, saying all kinds of things. And then there was a man who had come to see the owner of the shop, the woman. And the young boy, he must have been about 6-7 years old.
Was all over the place.
And then was all over the place and saying all kinds of very offensive things. So the guy grabbed him and then spanked him like 5 times. The boy started crying. And then the kinds of things that flowed from his mouth,
Wow.
directed at
The elderly person.
Charlie.
Wow.
Like I was in awe. I say, whoa.
You can't do this.
I couldn't possibly believe it. Like, I said, what? Like, how is that? So I told the mother that, look, you see,
the boy's mother was around.
yeah, the boy's mother was around. He
And
said-
she didn't reprimand him.
so I told her that, look, you have a responsibility, because this young man is clearly acting in excess of what is required society, in
What
society.
society requires of him.
So you need to be firm going forward to actually get it out of him. Of course, kids will always they always find ingenious ways of doing harm to
pushing the
themselves.
boundaries.
Yes, pushing the boundaries and doing harm to others. But there are things there's a minimum decorum that you expect from a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old. Where they act in excess of that, it means that there's a problem somewhere. And look, I actually hope that she was able to do that after I had left. Because as I was driving home, I was thinking, so, you see, there are two things. There are times our parents will tell you that there's jimakpala, which is that you were not properly raised.
Yeah.
Right?
There's Plamasa,
There is also kplamase, which is to say that, yes,
You
your
were
parents
raised,
tried their very best.
but you refuse training.
Exactly. You have that. So sometimes we have to cut our calling parents
Yes.
from
There are
slack.
some
They say,
kids that
they just, you try whatever
the new
you
generation of kids are very
no,
different. eh?
I don't think we should be saying that. But, it is almost always a question of what is around them,
Okay.
what they are seeing, and how they interpret what they are seeing, and hope that they are doing the right thing. You understand? Because look at it, giving your daughter or your son access to the computer is not necessarily a bad thing, because look, I'm studying artificial intelligence law for business now, and I know the difficulty I am having to go through trying to understand some of the really complex context
yes,
and nuances around computer science. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because growing up,
You didn't have an early exposure to
I didn't have an
computers.
early exposure to it. So I'm now doing about 4 times or 5 times
More.
what exactly. If you give your children controlled access to those things, then they pick it up. So they do it with ease. You understand? But in my context, it's an entirely different matter. Now the question is, having given that, what sort of controls are in place to ensure that he is not using that to go onto an X-rated site or watching something that he should not be watching? Kids always have a very, very creative way of getting around some of the solutions you push across. But you still have to do your very best. Sometimes you do your very best and it comes to really nothing. But we can't afford to take our legs off the pedal. And society has a role to play. If you see someone's kids misbehaving somewhere, intervene in a truly responsible way. If you have to grab him by the hand, show me your house. You drag him to the house and then you report and hope that because honestly, today you as a parent, you might close your eyes to the kinds of things that he's doing or she's doing and assume that, as for today's generation, he will go out there and bring shame,
bring you
and disgrace and problem to the house. So we have that responsibility. Listeners listening to us, we don't have all the solutions. I'm sure that you are wiser than us. You can send in your voice notes with some of the recommendations that can help us deal with this particular problem. Because really, I grew up in a very traditional home, and there are things I wouldn't do. Like, as for that one, it's a no.
Yeah.
But today, you see some of the things that
no, because if you go and misbehave, you just know what's going to happen by the time you get home. When they say get home, enter the room, you know that by the time you come out, you are fine. You have eaten a lot of beatings and you're okay. Whatever came over you will be gone. You understand? But now also, we seem to be saying, let's not use the corporal punishment. Also, let's just talk to the kids and all of that.
Even if it is the talking that we want to do, I still believe. I'm not yet a parent. Okay, I'm not yet a parent. But when I look at even my own circumstance and growing up, and meeting other people, you realize that even you are not laying a hand on your child, reprimanding them helps, bringing them in line,
yeah.
Because there are certain things you should not be doing. Yeah. I go back to this story. How is a 15-year-old?
They want
15.
He's asked for 5,000.
15 years. He's watching television. He's been asked to bring human blood and 5,000 CDs. And he ponders on it so much so that he consults another person 3 years older and they collude and commit such a crime. So as a parent, that's why I go back to parents. How is a 15-year-old is watching this? Why are you not regulating what that 15-year-old is watching?
Yeah. So,
do you know that your 15-year-old's friends, who is he or she hanging with?
That's a very good question. Because even communications clubs, good manners.
Who are they hanging out with?
Many of these things they pick up from school.
But who are they hanging out with?
And the community generally.
So I believe there's a lot we must, parents, maybe teachers, religious leaders, the general society, the state itself. And the state may not be able to reach into your home and tell you how to train your child. But what the state can do is filter the content so much so that a 15-year-old will not get access to watch some of these things.
And also, why would an 18-year-old be thinking of getting rich?
That's a good question. We'll come back to.
That's society.
That's a good question. We'll be coming back
These
to.
These days, we are praising all kinds of things.
What we celebrate, where we place value. When we go for this quick break, we'll be returning to attempt to answer all these questions, and we'll love to take some of your comments as well. Again, what is the challenge of today's parent? 0549986996. What's the challenge of today's parenting that we can all judge about and look at how to get answers? Some of your voice notes are in. We'd like to share them with you.
Yeah, good morning, City team. I'm George from Airport City. I believe everything lies with the state because parents cannot police their kids 24/7. I'm a father, I have 2 kids. You can't police your kids 24/7. So you need a system to even protect you and help you groom the children. I have a daughter who was watching cartoon the last time. Luckily, I was there. As she was watching, suddenly an advert came and it's a ritualist. Because I was there, I put up the TV. if we have a control system that no TV station is allowed to put such content, the kids will not be exposed to them in the first place. So I believe it's more of a structural problem. We don't have the people, right people in the right places to take the right decisions. And also, the communal reprimand Sky was talking about is a good thing. But these days, with our social media and our way of getting everybody on video, if you try to reprimand somebody's child, the next thing you realize you'll be in court. So it's a serious thing that our regulators need to look at and take action on. For disciplining somebody's child, it will be difficult because in our schools today we don't beat the kids again, but we all understand nobody is wiser than God. And
Caleb and Nathan and Sky. Good morning. My name is Eric from Koforidua. You see, I think that our overdependence on foreign rules is part of the reason. You know, when we're growing up, when you mess up, your parent will spank you. When you go to school, they use cane there. When you misbehave in the house, your father will use cane on you. So most of us, we grew up fearing our fathers. You see, and we were not exposed to certain kind of content that children are exposed to on television these days because of irresponsible content creation. I don't know whether I could call that content, but most of the things that Ghana television stations are putting out there, it's nothing to write home about. And when I think about this thing, the whole thing goes back to poverty. Okay, Sky made a point about it being the case of broken homes, and I think it is about poverty. Broken home must be very little in this because if two people, a man and a wife, are broken up and both of them are equally very rich, the raising of the kid will be different. No, it doesn't matter who is in possession or in custody of those kids. The raising of the kids will be different from a poor home. So the whole idea is about poverty. The parents, the father is mostly not at home, the mother is in the market somewhere, and the children are on their own. You see, and we over depending on rules, the way foreigners raise their kids, and we want to also do that here. That is the problem.
Caleb and Sky. Indeed, the topic and the discussion is a very big one. That is a very, worrying situations in our Ghanaian society, for that matter, our homes. If you look at the way things are happening and that of the way children are picking up certain, behaviors and characters, deviant behaviors for that matter, is very worrying. So to me, I think our traditional authorities in every area in our community should come out with a stern warning or plans or kind of a statement to parents in the community that should they see your child or your ward putting up a deviant behavior that is a threat to society, you such parents, you'll be halted to the palace, and the committee that is put in place would keep eyes in the community, checking children who are engaging in all kinds of deviant society, smoking, influencing each other, having knives, guns on them, even going to school. So I think if our traditional leaders and that of religious leaders team up together and in every community send a stern warning to parents that if you are a parent and your word is going in a certain way, they will look for that child and look for you, that parent, unless they tell us that such parents are not having mother or no father. Then
yeah, Caleb, good morning to you and the City Breakfast Show team. Richard Dalaska and then Nathan Oboda Kwao. I think you people, I totally associate myself to you this morning, especially the topic that you are discussing. In fact, this nowadays, our systems has been changed. It wasn't like that as back days. But counting out the getting to the late 2000s, that means 2002 thereabouts up to now, you will also see that now changing children, you cannot able to let me say advise a child or give him a corporal punishment as it used to be in this. So this has been a worrisome situation, and I think we all have to bring our board, bring our hands at the deck on deck.
Some of your voice notes on the subject matter we've shared with you. There are a few more and some text messages, WhatsApp messages as well. Fred Tejabano, the producer of the show, says he is not going to do bad parenting. So you make sure I keep to the time. So let me bring you some of your text messages, your WhatsApp messages rather quickly. Good morning, City. In all this, I also blame the society and the police. Imagine if these boys had been successful in what they wanted to do. They would become rich and no one is allowed to question the source of their wealth, not even the police. That's true, you didn't add your name though. But where's the ritualist these guys saw on TV though? This one says, I was raised in prison barracks. I remember I went to do Kongbe, that is second harvest in people's farm. Okay, by the time I got home, my dad had already planned. He hid behind the door and I can still remember how he disciplined me. Not this generation. Robert Atieku from Sheffield, UK, send that through. Good morning, City team. The state institutions mandated to control content on TV have failed in their duty. My little girl was watching cartoon and suddenly the TV station switched from cartoon to a ritualist advert. I was lucky to have been there. George from Kasoa, send that through.